Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome back to the channel. It's your boy Mark Roden, and today we are going over another part to a multi-part series of like a bunch of different cars from different car brands, all under $5,000. We've done like Ford, Chevy, BMW, Audi. Did we do Audi? No, we haven't done Audi. We've done a lot, but today is going to be on Toyotas and Toyotas specifically. I do want to say really quickly before we get into it, and somebody comments down below, yes, there are some Lexi, whatever you want to call them, in this list. If you don't understand why, Lexus is pretty much just a rebadged Toyota. So all the Lexuses in this list overseas are different Toyotas. So I just want to make that very clear in case anybody's going to be confused. On top of that, guys, I wanted to really quickly ask if you wouldn't mind subscribing to the channel, because over 80% of you guys are not. I'd really like to see that number drop to the 70%. I'd really appreciate it if you just click that subscribe button, but you don't have to, but I would appreciate it. But anyway, guys, let's get right into the video with number 10. Alright, so coming in at the number 10 spot is going to be the wonderful Toyota Cressida. I want to say really quickly before we even get into like anything about this car that it is going to be very hard to find this one under $5,000. These cars are somewhat wanted, and when they do go up for sale, they usually are under $5K, but the hard part is just finding them for sale in the first place. But either way, they come with a 2.5 liter inline 6 making 190 horsepower, and they were rear wheel drive. In my opinion, these cars, I gotta say, they don't really do it for me in terms of looks. I think they just look a little wonky, a little weird. But besides like the looks, it's a really good platform, especially for drifting. If you're trying to get into the drifting platform, hey, this is a good one for you. Now, the engine in it isn't like one of the best Toyotas ever made. It's actually not even like really memorable, to be honest, but there's always swaps, so that's that. Coming in at number 9 is such an underrated one, dude. This one just literally gets no love whatsoever, and it absolutely deserves the love. It is going to be the Lexus GS300. This is one of the Lexuses in Japan that's called the Toyota, and it's called the Toyota Aristo over in Japan, and that car is amazing. Now, it's not the same as the Aristo because it comes with a different motor, but it's the same body style. They come with a 3 liter inline 6 making 225 horsepower, and they were rear wheel drive, and that motor is actually called the 2JZ GE, not the 2JZ GTE, not the one that you're thinking of, the one from the Mark IV Supra. It's not the same. It doesn't have a turbo. Well, it doesn't have 2 turbos. It doesn't have the turbos on it, so it can't make as much power as that one, but it's still a good motor to build for sure. Once again, this is another very good platform to drift. The only problem is that they're automatic only, since they are supposed to be a luxury car. So they are luxurious, but they're automatic only. So you're gonna have to swap it to manual. Coming in at the number 8 spot is one of, in my opinion, the best overlander vehicles out there, especially for under $5,000. It is a Toyota Tacoma first generation, the Taco, baby. All the cool Tacoma boys call them tacos, so now I'm calling them the Taco because I'm a cool Tacoma boy. These things come with a very small 3.4 liter V6 making 190 horsepower, and they were 4x4, but if you don't put it in 4x4 mode, then they're rear wheel drive, so you could drift this thing if you want to. Just want to say that. The reason why I say that's really small, by the way, I know somebody's gonna be like, that's a 3.4 liter V6, it's not that small. It's just small to me for like a truck, because I feel like trucks are supposed to have big old boy motors. But back to the truck itself, this truck is, in my opinion, one of the best first cars out there right now, period. Yes, I understand if you're a car guy and you want something like that's more fun, then maybe not this truck. But if you're not really like a car guy and you just want something that's going to be able to get you to like work and back reliably and go drive during the winter, this is an unbelievably good choice, and it's incredibly reliable because it's a Toyota. Coming in at the number 7 spot, 711. Oh my god, wait a minute, I just realized that actually kind of works. It's the Toyota MR2 AW11. Get it? 711. I didn't even realize that. I just realized that. I am a wild man. But these cars are one of, in my opinion, the most fun cars on this list, period. And let me explain. They come with a very small 1.6 liter inline 4, and they only make 124 horsepower, but they were rear wheel drive, and they were mid-engine, and they came with a manual transmission, and they were incredibly lightweight, and they had pop-em-up headlights, and they handle amazingly, dog. Now, everybody's always like, oh, well, what about snap oversteer? What about snap oversteer? All you got to do is figure out how to not brake when you're already in the corner, and you'll be all right. That's literally all you got to do. Now, I do want to put out there that it's going to be hard to find one of these under 5K in decent condition, but you can. It's a good project car. I'll say that. Also, if you're over 6 feet tall, maybe look into something else. Coming in at the number 6 spot is going to a car that you guys seem to love on this channel. It is the Toyota Celica GT 7th generation, which is technically the newest generation because they never made another one after this, which is very sad. They need to bring this freaking car back. Absolutely back. But everybody sleeps on these cars heavily because they just don't look like the most incredible in my opinion, so they just sleep on them. So that's good news for you though, because they're really cheap. They come with a 1.8 liter inline 4 making 180 horsepower, and they were front wheel drive. Front wheel drive is a big bummer for sure, but the Celica's always been, well, no, it hasn't always been front wheel drive, but most of the Celicas have been front wheel drive, so it does make sense. And on top of that, it's not going to be like a drift car, obviously. Just have fun with it. It's very reliable. It's a really underrated platform for the handling aspect of it. People like are like, oh, well, it's not that fast. Yeah, well, it handles good, man. So like, that's all that matters. Coming in at number 5 is going to one of the most absolutely amazing daily drivers out there right now. It is the Toyota Corolla S. Now, I know that they've recently have made like a new Corolla S. I'm talking about the older ones though, the ones from like the early 2000s or mid 2000s actually. And they're just amazing, man. They come with a 1.8 liter inline 4 making 132 horsepower, and they were front wheel drive. Once again, this is just like the Celica GT. This is not the fastest car out there, but they can be fun if you want them to be. Just take them to twisties and you'll have a blast. And yes, this car does look like a grandma car bone stock. I will be the first to admit it, but just modify it. All right, and modify it a little bit, and it goes from a grandma car to like a really cool like drug dealer car. Also, they're really cheap to buy, and they're cheap to fix, and they're just reliable as hell. They're, once again, just another great daily driver. Number 4 is going to be the Lexus SC400. Oh my Lanta. I freaking love the SC400. If you're on this channel, if you're new to this channel, my bad, welcome. I like the SC400 and the Forester for some reason. I talk about the Subaru Forester a lot. But either way, this Lexus SC400 is just amazing. I love it with all my heart. It comes with a 4-liter V8 making 270 horsepower, and it was rear-wheel drive. And this is honestly, I know it sounds mind-blowing because it's a freaking V8, but this is literally one of the most reliable cars on this list. It comes with the 1UZ, and the 1UZ can get literally like 300,000 miles all day, every day, and you don't have to worry about it. So if you go to buy one of these cars and you're like, oh, well, I only have a budget of 5K and all the ones under 5K have like 200,000 miles, don't worry. It's a 1UZ. It'll last for another 100,000 miles. It also has one of the highest horsepower numbers on this list, which may sound like it's going to be very fun, but the only problem is that they are automatic only, just like the GS300, and they are a little heavy, so you're going to have to deal with like body roll and stuff like that. But once you get all that stuff figured out, it is an amazingly fun car, especially if you want to drift it. Coming in at the 3rd place, the bronze medal of this list is going to the Mark III Supra, or for all the people that live overseas, the A70 Supra. I don't know why we call it the Mark III over here in America, but we do weird things. And this thing, in my opinion, is honestly just looks incredible. Like, it's not the best platform out there, it just looks really good. All right, it comes with a 3-liter inline 6 making 225 horsepower, and it was rear wheel drive. And I'm not even going to try to tell you what that engine is called, because every time I've made a video and the Mark III Supra's in it, I always call it a 2JZ GE, and then I get yelled at for being wrong. Then I called it a 7M GE one time, and I was yelled at for being wrong. So I don't know what motor it comes with, but it's a 3-liter inline 6. I know that part. In my opinion, they look incredible. Like I said before, they're hard to find under 5K though. Once again, just this is another one that's going to be a big bit of an issue, and they aren't the best, I mean, in terms of like reliability, just due to the old age and neglect, and they're just really not the best to build like power on either, just because of low aftermarket support. But it's just such a beautiful car, so you can't go wrong with it. But 2nd place for this list goes to another absolutely amazing rocket of an overlanding monster. It is the Toyota 4Runner 4th generation. Everybody wants the 3rd, 2nd, or 1st generation 4Runner, and they sleep on the 4th gens. Don't sleep on them, buddy. These things are absolute monsters. They come with a 4-liter V6 making 245 horsepower, and of course they are 4x4. They're 4x4, right? Not all-wheel drive. I actually am not 100% sure about that now that I say that. My bad. Either way though, they're reliable as hell. They're actually really comfortable to drive year round, despite, I know it sounds wild, but it's true. They're still very cheap to maintain because they are a Toyota. They do look just honestly kind of mediocre. They're mid. All the TikTok kids call it mid nowadays, so they're kind of mid looking. But once you modify them, they can look a lot better. But the looks are definitely not their selling point. But they're just a blast to drive wherever you want to drive them reliably for cheap. The honorable mention for today goes to the Toyota Celica GT 6th generation, which is the one right before the 7th generation. Duh, that's how numbers work, buddy. This thing comes with a 2.2 liter inline 4 making 130 horsepower, and it was front wheel drive again, because this is not the GT4. And in my opinion, they just look incredibly cool. And they're also incredibly underrated. Like, these things are reliable as hell. They're not that fast, sure. I'm not going to sit here and tell you it's like a super fast car. But they're honestly, nowadays, since like nobody buys them, they're kind of a head turner too. Once you start to modify them simply, they're a head turner. And yes, the one that you're going to be able to find for under 5K is going to be beat up, but just have a little project on your hands. But the first place, I'm sure you guys already guessed it if you watch this channel, is of course the Lexus IS300. For those wondering, it's called the Toyota Altezza over in Japan, and over in Japan it is just as cool as the one over here. Actually, it's a little bit cooler over in Japan, but they're amazing cars. This one that we got at the end of the Americas comes with the same motor that we had in the GS300 before, a 3-liter inline 6 making 225 horsepower while being rear-wheel drive. These cars do come with a manual transmission, but I want to make it very clear, for under 5K you're not going to be able to find one with a manual. Also under 5K, chances are it's going to be really high miles, but that's okay because it is the 2JZ, so they're very reliable. You don't got to worry about the miles that much. The only reason why I put this so far ahead of the GS300, even though they both only come with automatics, is because this car is just built better. It's not really as like luxurious, if that makes any sense, as the GS300, so therefore it's not as heavy as the GS300. So if you want to do fun boy stuff, you know, drifting and racing and all that fun stuff, the IS300 is a much better choice to go. On top of that, these cars are only going to continue to go up in value. People love the IS300, and they have tons of aftermarket support. They're fun as hell to mod. You can drift them, you can race them, you can just use it as a daily, you can do whatever you want with them, and they're going to do it well. But ladies and gentlemen, that is the end of today's video of the top 10, technically 11, because there's an honorable mention with the 6th gen Celica Toyotas that you can find for under $5,000. There are actually a lot of Toyotas under 5K, so this list was kind of hard to make. So I even wanted to include like a Camry just as like a daily driver for you daily driver boys. But then I was like, I don't want to do that. You know, like that sounds boring. Let me include the Corolla S instead, because now it's got the S at the end of it. But anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching. Let me know what other brands you'd like to see of like cars under 5K. I was thinking of doing Dodge next. I was thinking of either doing Dodge or Audi next. So let me know whatever one you want to see. But yeah, if you enjoyed, be sure to like, comment, subscribe. Das Vidania. Have a nice night.